YouTube, hello. Thank you for coming on in to yet another episode of the TranScribeCast. If you're here from a returning episode, welcome back. If this is your first episode, I highly recommend you check out the first episode first. I mean, believe it or not, watching things in a sequential order sometimes really helps.
Hello there.
General Kenobi. I have two amazing guests with me today, and we're talking about how impressions leave an impression on us, and how it helps form a bit of our voice. So, let me ask my guests something. Are there any characters in, like, TV, cartoons, games, etc., whose voices, like, you could pick out of a crowd easily? Like, hey, I've heard your voice before. Like, the actor that plays Gaara in Naruto, for example. Like, every single time I hear that voice in another game or something, I'm like, oh, look, that's Gary of Sand. I know that boy.
Yeah, there's many characters like that. Not particularly Gaara, though. I haven't. Are you talking about the Japanese voice actor?
No, I'm talking about
English
any
one?
type of VA, whether they're
Just
Japanese,
anyone?
English, Spanish, Portugal.
Okay. Yeah. In general, for me, especially like I think the most notable one for me is is Dragon Ball. You know, like Goku.
Yeah.
Especially the Japanese one.
Oh, Goku's Japanese VA is something else.
Yeah, it's definitely just sort of made an impression on me. When I hear it, it's like, whoa, okay, that's definitely Goku.
Yeah, and then when it comes to trying to do the impressions yourself, especially if it's a character you like. For example, when I started my transition, I really wanted to sound like Tristana from League of Legends.
Good choice.
But then I wound up sounding a lot like Lulu, and I have no problem with that. You know, except when I do the laugh and I cause people PTSD. And that's kind of like the whole crux of this episode. Like, yeah, I had a particular voice before I started doing this. I had a... Like I say all the time, before I started my transition, my voice was like kind of in this range all the time. A little nasally, a little mumbly, gravelly, and like, I just don't like talking because I don't like how I sound. And it was thanks to picking a few characters who I really, like, admired the voice work of, that I was able to get to this range. And I got there by doing impressions. So, wait, I almost forgot. Turn the frickin' music on. So,
That's really awesome, actually.
thank you.
I know of another friend that's done that. That sort of shaped and changed their voice as they transition, and that just amazes me.
And
So
yeah,
that's-
these lessons,
that's
whether
really
you're trans, cis, or anywhere in between, like, these can help you. Like, they can help you, like, be better at public speaking. They can help you, like, be better at projecting your voice, just, like, trying to be a little more authoritative, etc. I'm sorry, Mila, did I cut you off?
No, you were fine.
So, how about you two? Like, in terms of voice acting, any experience, any vocal training, any, like, any characters in particular you admire, aside from Goku?
I think one of the first things that I started with was playing D&D. And you know, when you start making a character and you're like, okay, well maybe I want to be a girl. And then it's like, okay, well I have to raise my voice up if I'm going to talk like this for 4 hours every single night, and you sort of work on finding different voices that fit comfortably within the range of characters that you imagine. And then I started DMing, and it was like, okay, well now I have to cover every voice in a 30-person cast.
Pain!
It takes some work.
It takes a lot of practice, let me tell you.
It takes a lot.
Especially if you're trying not to make all the characters sound like complete and total caricatures.
Right. You can only do Choose Goose so many times before people start getting bored of it.
And yeah, that's where impressions come in to help a lot of the times. Like, they can help you get a mindset for how that character talks, or
Right.
like that's a lot of things that professional voice actors will do. Like, when they're told to play a character, and they're trying to get into the mindset of the voice, and it's a voice they've done before, they always have like a trigger phrase. Like, for example, if you know what that means. Do you ever know like what a voice actor's trigger phrase is?
I don't. Yeah.
So it's kind of like think of it like a line that someone says is like their own personal vocal warm-up to get them in the mindset of that character. Like, for example, Steve Bloom. Look at all the different characters he's voiced. He's voiced villains, he's voiced Spike Spiegel. They all have different personalities, but they all sound like Steve Bloom. Sometimes he'll have to talk like one of those characters for a bit and be like,
Get in the proper mindset of the character before you start talking like him, you know? Because you can't just go into the mindset of Spike Spiegel. And that impression will help people get into the mindset of Steve Bloom. Which is kind of how that shitpost came about. I'm sure you know which shitpost I'm talking about.
I don't actually care to let me know about that one.
You know, I got out of bed today hoping a woman would just splatter my brains across the wall. Like, I just want to be absolutely destroyed by a lady. Like, I want to be two different people by the end of tonight. I want to be your pee-pee piss-piss bitch boy.
I love that. And the person that does that shitpost does such a good Spike Spiegel. It's like convincing that it's not Steve Bloom. Yeah, that one.
Got it. I don't think I've ever come across that one, unfortunately, but...
And even actors will have like trigger phrases like to help them trigger specific emotions. Tom Holland, for example, in Spider-Man. You know how... Spoilers for Infinity War, by the way. A movie that came out like 5 years ago or something. You know how when Thanos did the snap? And Peter Parker's like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't feel so good.
Yeah, when he's in Tony Stark's arms, right?
Yeah, Tom Holland in an interview says he can't cry on command. He can't express emotions on command, as some actors are able to do. So he'll sometimes improv lines like that, and like think of something sad that happened in his life to help him get into the like sad mindset. Which is like how he was able to convincingly like cry so well for that scene where he's like, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me now.
Crying on command is a skill, and it takes a lot of practice. And I don't know how people can just do it without thinking. It takes like build up to be able to do that, you know. At least for me.
So have either of you ever done a lot of impressions, or like worked with anyone that's done them before? Like whether it's for comedy or voice acting?
I have a lot of friends that are voice actors, and like a lot, and most of them aspiring, but you know, they have their voice reels that they throw to people, and I have been around a lot of people that do impressions, and I've gotten kind of a lot of exposure to doing it through them, and you know, either watching their streams or playing games with them, or you know, any number of things that allows them to flex their skills in that regard.
Yeah, and the amount of work. By the way, Mila, what about you? Have you any experience with?
Not really. I guess when going back to like D&D and the stuff that Dolly was talking about earlier, whenever I did make a character and stuff, I wasn't necessarily always comfortable vocalizing how it would sort of how my character would sound like. So that's something that I never did. However, I do have some exposure, not personally, by watching a lot of like Sungwon's videos, the ProZD.
Oh
So I
my
do see a lot
god,
of it.
such a good example.
Yeah, I see
King
a lot of
Dragon
his.
sends his regards.
His voices have like inspired some of mine.
Like when I start talking like this, I always first think about King Dragon sends his regard. Lysandroth!
Yeah, he has so many. It's incredible.
He's
It's just fun watching.
impressive. Another like key person that helps shape my idealism for voice acting and like impressions and all that, Robin Williams. I just like, if it wasn't for Robin Williams being in our lives, I would not have gotten into voice acting. Like, that man inspired me. Oh god, may he rest in peace.
He was one of very few actors that could voice act, because there's very few of them, but he was one who set the standard that no one else could really follow up.
Yeah, like a lot of people would say, he was as animated as the characters he voiced.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the motions they did for Genie and Aladdin were apparently because he gesticulated a lot during the voice acting, and they're like, you know what, we should have Genie do this.
I think that's something about like impressions and voice acting that isn't, I think people who haven't really done a bunch of voices or really put themselves into it don't realize is that you have to animate yourself. And, I used to be a PNG tuber, but when I started VTubing, it was like, oh God, I have to be careful how I move now because people can see it. And,
Yep.
And like I all over the place when I'm doing it, and it can be distracting sometimes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Mila, what about you? Have you noticed that you've had to be a little more gesticulative while talking?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when I used to not stream with anything, not even a PNG tuber. So it was just easy, sort of just talking. I had a much smaller audience at that point as well. So now that I actually have a model, it picks up every little thing where you're sort of blinking with one eye or blinking with both eyes. But I have to sort of make sure and exaggerate things for sure as I'm talking in chat.
I unfortunately can't do winks or anything because my hair constantly like falls down in front of my eyes. Or sometimes my camera won't pick up my glasses. Until I can get a proper recording arm for my computer and set my camera up at a different angle, I can't exactly, I usually have to have my camera a little bit higher than myself. And, which means that, like, yeah, I could do these little bounces and whatnot and turn and, like, squint and lean in or lean back, all that stuff. But it comes down to, like, I don't have any hand tracking, so it relies a lot on, like, how I just, like, twist my face when I'm doing my voices and how I'm talking. Because, like our lovely Otter here said, like Dolly said, voice actors don't just sit there and read their lines. They can be very animated, especially like when they get to emotional scenes. Like you wouldn't see the voice actor for, you wouldn't see Goku's voice actor when he's charging up a Kamehameha just like Kame. Like he's getting into it. Wait, is Goku's VA female or male?
Depends on the language.
I
think it's
don't know anything about the
Female and
Japanese
Japanese.
Yeah.
VA. Oh, it's
and
female
Japanese.
VA? Yeah, she gets into it.
Yeah, speaking of animations while doing VA, you remind me of like whenever I see those behind the scenes Disney movies, Disney animated movies where they're just when especially when they're singing and even when they're talking, they're just so animated.
Oh yeah. And that's a big thing. Depending on the character you're trying to present yourself as, or like just you in general, you don't just talk without moving. No one talks without moving. Like, it can be, some people do, and they're like very static about it, but they have this like stoicism behind it. It's not an easy thing to do.
Speaking is as much a physical thing as it is a verbal thing. We talk with our hands, we talk with our face, we talk with a lot of different things, and to get that to come across in voice acting alone requires not just animation, but kind of exaggeration, right?
Yep. Oop. Sorry, I opened up a can of water and shot everywhere. Gotta
Well,
love
that was me.
carbonated
I
water.
did that. I shook it up before you got on stream. I'm sorry.
God damn you, Dolly!
I can't help it. I'm a little rascal.
Next time, catch it! Next time!
Ow. So, back to the circling back to the current like main topic of impressions and like deciding whose voice you want to try and emulate, especially when it comes to vocal training. Oh, pardon me. When I started my transition, my coach told me, first and foremost, it's not just about doing my scales, it's not doing about my practice, it's about having a goal in mind, but not an end goal that's like, once you get to this goal, you're done. Have a goal in mind to like, your first step goal. Like, pick a voice you want to try and emulate and get to it. And then incorporate that voice into your own everyday talking until you're comfortable with it. Like,
Oh, okay, I'm gonna do my best, and
sure enough, look at what I'm able to do now. And it's all thanks to being a League of Legends player. God damn it.
The only
Hey,
good
something
thing League
that-
of Legends ever did.
the only,
Yeah,
The
something
only
that
good thing
came
League ever
from League.
gave us. Oh. Sorry, Mila, what was that?
I was saying the same thing as Dolly. The only good thing about League.
Like, I can absolutely tell you that tasted purple.
Ooh, spot on.
It's all about a bit of a whimsy and a hop and a skip and a wow. Saying a couple of Lulu voice lines, I can now do Lulu's voice easily without really having to focus on your lines.
Yeah, there's only like one iconic one, huh? And it's that tasted purple.
That squirrel looked familiar.
I think as far as like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Like I said, I started off with having Tristana in mind, and then I went to Lulu and Lux. And now I've kind of like formed my own voice after like going away from the caricatures of those impressions. And like I could still do them as impressions, but look at how these impressions left an impression on how I formed my own voice. You don't have to sound like the character all the time. You can sound like your own person. If that makes sense.
It does. It's like wanting to, you see examples of different voices and different types of, a voice says a lot about a character. And as you're trying to figure out who you want to be, it's important to look for the things that sort of embody what that might represent. So I can understand trying to sort of have that goalpost, right? Like, I want to be like this because this is what I want to be. That makes perfect sense.
Any input, Mila?
From me personally, that's kind of something I haven't done before. So hearing you and Dolly talk about it is kind of cool to hear about. What Dolly said about sort of the voice embodying sort of something that you want to become totally makes sense to me. It's not something that I personally thought about a lot, but yeah, it definitely gives me things to think about. Yeah.
It can very much help, like, make things easier and, like, ease the walk up the rocky hill.
Yeah,
And
totally.
Disclaimer, like I say in every episode, I'm not a professional. I am not a professional vocal coach. I am not, like, I'm not a professional vocal coach. Keep that in mind.
The joys of Twitch streaming, having to disclose all the things you're not in a professional in every time you talk about something.
Yeah, but if I can use this weird talent of mine to help you find a bit of ease or help you along the way finding your voice, I will put my 120% into that. Because I know not everyone has the courage to... I feel bad saying the courage to find a vocal coach, because sometimes people are like, I don't like how I sound, or I don't want other people to hear how I sound. I know some people who have given up on vocal training because they stumble along the hill up. It's a Sisyphusian task. You're pushing a heavy boulder up a steep and bumpy hill to be able to train your voice to be something that you're not used to, especially if it's later in your life.
I didn't start voice training or anything like that until I was 26. So my voice was already very much well established. And I myself thought I'm never going to be able to sound like I want to. And sure enough, as I struggled and cried and stumbled along the way, I kept pushing up that hill. And once I got to the top, it was so much easier. And if I can use this talent of mine to help you out, indirectly or directly, all the better. Plus, if it helps you save some money on not going to vocal coaches for a couple lessons, all the better, because goddamn vocal coach lessons are expensive.
They sure are.
So, question to you, Paige and Dolly, who've done a lot of impressions, is what's your technique in, like, practicing, or like you have a new impression that you want to sort of do? How do you go about working your way towards doing that?
I talk in the mirror like a freak. Simply put, I will talk into the mirror a lot. I will find either the, a lot of voices can fit under an archetype, right? You can go for something high-pitched, or you can go for something more elegant, or you could go for something like Jon Snow. And you can find all of these different ranges that you want to do, and you use examples of those, or at least I do. Maybe Paige does it differently, but and sort of push myself towards getting to those with as many different ways as I can think. And it's a lot of trial and error for me personally. I don't know about you, Inda.
What were you doing under my chair? Sorry, I'm listening. I just had my kitten under my chair, and I almost ran her over because she's a very silent baby. Don't want you getting hurt. For me, it's a bit of the, I cherry pick a voice line, that the character is known for. And I do the Tom Holland thing. So, for example, like when I wanted to start doing Mark Hamill's Joker,
I started off by trying to say a little bit of like getting into the droll, the showmanship, the way he animates his voice. By trying to talk about it's just a killing joke between it's just a good-natured joke between friends, right, Bats? And just saying that line again and again, and then once I got into the mindset of it, just getting to the laughing. And now I'm able to do the Joker voice of Mark Hamill pretty damn well, if you ask me.
A lot of voices have, particularly with reference to impressions, iconic voices have held and things that made them iconic. And being able to identify those is a really good way to work on actually like recreating it. Like the Jon Snow voice. If you wanted to talk like this, I thought about what he said that was iconic. And so I would just walk around and say, but she's my queen. And I'd say it over and over because I thought it was hilarious. And then I was like, I can just do this now. Oops.
Yeah, it's that cherry pick thing. It's you
Right.
cherry pick a line that the character is known for. And it helps you get into the mindset of that character. And after I do that for a little bit and practice doing that voice, like if it's a voice I can do but have not practiced a little bit, I'll always try and I'll do the cherry pick voice. I'll do the cherry pick line a couple times, like center myself in harmonizing with it, and then just go into it. But if we're talking about a character that I've voiced for quite a little bit and have a lot of practice as, I can do Harley Quinn's voice at the drop of a dime. I hope that answers your question, Mila.
Yeah, it's good to hear your two's perspective. Thank you. on that.
Like each and every person has different techniques. Some techniques work better for some people, some techniques work better for other people. But one of the things I will say, especially like if you're trying to get into a new octave that you're not used to, practice your scales first, do your vocal warm-ups. Treat your vocal cords like you would treat your muscles at the gym. You are not grabbing a 1,000-pound deadlift off the weight, off the rip. You will blow your muscles out doing that. Unless, you're a world-renowned bodybuilder. You're probably going to be starting off with like 50s or 70s if you're brave. Or however much you feel confident in doing. And then you find, I can't lift this much. I should scale it back a little bit. But you won't go into the deep end right off the bat. The same thing for voices. You have to work to change your octave. It's not as simple as just like suddenly shifting to a new octave. You have to get used to shifting to that octave. Like a lot of people when they first start out and they're like, okay, so I'm gonna try and start sounding like I'm a different person. And then they lose that octave later and they're like, okay, I don't sound like I used to. And now I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that voice again. So one thing my coach taught me, always do your harmonization, like warm-ups, your scales, your...
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. Hi, Dashing Dev, thank you for the follow. Always do your... Oh, hi, Mark. Always do your vocal warm-ups, like... Just like artists do with their hands. Move your mouth in weird ways, get everything all stretched out. Rub at your throat a little bit. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, stuff like that.
And one of the things my vocal coach taught me is scales. You start off at 1 and you get to 10. And you have to get there without stepping. So you're not doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have to, it's like a slope, not a staircase. Because if you're stepping with your voice, it's
It's like a record skipping. You want to be able to do it naturally.
It's the steps in between you have to be able to do. Because,
Yeah.
like, you know, with reference to how you say scales, you know, I play a lot of music. And so when I started doing voice stuff and, you know, trying to change my voice, it was like, okay, much like I learned any other instrument, I have to do my scales now. And I have to slowly build up to that because it's not something that happens on its own. Something that builds itself up over time. And
Exactamente.
getting comfortable with that. Yeah. You have to practice.
Because if you push it too hard, you will blow your vocal cords out. And you will wind up with a sore throat and you'll sound like, worst case scenario, you'll sound like Dr. Girlfriend from the Venture Bros. Like, unironically.
Hello, I'm here. I'm ready to stream today.
Unless, you know, that's the type of voice you're really going for.
Yeah. It's a fun voice for about 20 seconds before your
Hello
throat
there,
starts to
Tonkatsu Sinclair, horny police, here to inspect your images. Let me see the last saved image on your phone.
I
It's fun for a little bit, and then it starts to hurt.
I love Tonkatsu's voice. Have you seen any of her clips?
I don't think I have.
I haven't either.
She's a pretty funny shit poster. I'll have to share some of them with you. But yeah, please be aware that your voice needs to be treated as delicately as any other muscle you're training. Especially because it's one of the things you use to communicate with. And you might cause problems for yourself if you push it too hard when you're not ready to.
I think that's something that, like, even just as streamers, we probably all have dealt with before. You ever finish a stream and you're just like, wow, my throat fucking hurt.
Boy, me after every single visual novel stream.
Oh my god. And I play an RPG and I'm like, here it comes. Here we go.
Here comes the voice acting bit that I have to do. Time to put
Yep.
on the clown makeup.
I can't wait to not be able to talk for an hour after this. And so, like, even if you don't do a lot of voices, I started doing a vocal warm-up the first time that happened before stream. I was like, okay, this sucked. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
And that vocal warm-up, whether or not you're doing a bunch of voices, is a good idea.
Hi, Kasara. And
Have you found that helped quite a bit, Dolly?
A ton. It helps so much. And you know, the thing about it is, you know, I learned a lot of voice stuff through trying to sing and learning how to do it. And if you sing wrong, you will cause damage to your throat. And there are ways to do certain voices that might actually hurt your throat. And so, like, a vocal warm-up allows you to warm up doing the things in the right way. It's like Index said, if you are deadlifting and you go straight to 500 pounds, you're going to blow your muscles out, and then you're going to cause damage that you can't justify.
yeah, always do your warm-ups, no matter what. And when you're done, do some deep pressures. Like, slowly ease off of it, or like have some tea and honey. Low key though, like a nice hot cup of tea with a spoonful of honey mixed in will absolutely make you feel better.
Changes your life. It changed my life.
Yeah,
I always thought it would be overrated, but it isn't.
It's
I actually
OP.
noticed that recently as well. I've tended to start playing games with a lot of voice acting in it, or just ones that are just pure action, or something that like the viewer just understands how the game works. Not like a visual novel or like an RPG where I have to read like every single line. Mainly because my throat and voice just gets super tired really quickly.
Yeah, that's a sign that you've hit the moment where like you're not used to pushing for that long. It's like What I tried to do one time is I tried to read a bit of copy pasta with my natural voice, like, no attempts to change my tone, and it sounds like I could have a permanent cold. Yeah, that's a sign that you might be pushing it a little. Like, once your throat starts to hurt without even talking. And that's when you have to be aware, okay, I need to figure out a good balance of when to talk, when not to talk, and, like, when to excuse myself to make a cup of tea.
Breaks are important. You will hurt that muscle otherwise.
Oh boy, you're telling me.
So I would like to open up the floor to everyone in the audience. Do you have any questions so far? Does anybody have any questions, viewpoints, or anything? Any questions for my guests, myself, anything?
Don't be shy.
Yeah, there's no reason to be shy. I say while putting on the yandere
We're not
face.
gonna hurt you.
I say while putting on the yandere face. There's no reason to be shy. And I want to say again, thank you to you both for agreeing to be here.
Thank you for having me. I was really excited when you wanted to have me here. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to hear all this about impressions and stuff and contribute a little bit to the conversation.
Yeah, especially because impressions are like caricatures of voices. Like, when people try to do an impression of, like, let's say, let's use some like clear ones that people will always try to do, like, in terms of mimicry or mockery. Richard Nixon. Usually the impressions of Richard Nixon are not exactly Richard Nixon, but a caricature of him. But it helps you get an impression of, like, okay, this is how he sounds. Oh, have fun lurking, Dragon Fairy! My question is for everyone. How much vocal practice should you do per day without pushing yourself hard? Usually I like to do 3 to 5 minutes of, like, little warm-ups. But I don't do, like, verbal warm-ups as much as I do just, like, try to move my mouth around, like, I open my mouth as wide as possible, massage my cheeks, massage my neck, like, make sure my muscles are ready.
I think I take about 5 minutes in total. I do it, I do that, and then I do the scales too, and just to sort of like work my way up. And I have a couple of, there are a couple of phrases that, for some reason, whenever I would have to read them, I would completely stumble all over them. Like, one was Costco Alfredo Bay. And I used to go Costco Alfredo Bay every time. So I added things like that to my warm-up so that I would stop doing it. And it takes about 5 minutes now.
Yeah, try say purple burglar alarm in a Scottish accent. Purple burglar
alarm. Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
I hope that, I know you're not well versed in this topic, Mila, but have you learned anything so far tonight?
Yeah, I learned a lot. Definitely I think the most important thing that I learned was, or eye-opening, I guess, was something that Dolly said, that it was like the little quirks in the impression that sort of makes it what like sort of defines what it is. And that I was like, oh, yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah, voices are as unique as fingerprints, especially when it comes to impressions. When it comes to characters from media that we really appreciate, it's like just as important to understand that. If I can use one more analogy or example, look at the voice actor for, hold on, let me grab her. Look at Carrie Keranen. She's the voice actress for Lux. However, she's also the voice actor for the Twin Wardens in Persona 5. And she's also the voice actress for Sarah Valentine and my favorite game series, The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. It's her voice for all these characters, but they all sound different from one another, that they sound like different people, all trying to sound like the same person. And like that's one thing that you need to understand when it comes to impressions or like caricatures of voices. Like you hear the wardens in Goldest Paul with the posture check, thank you, and the stretch.
Oh god, I needed that. Oh god, that's so much better.
Like, have either of you played Persona 5 Royal? Or Persona 5?
I've played it like 3 times.
Yeah, I just binged it in the last couple of weeks, actually. So when you said Twin Wardens, the voice is fresh in my mind.
Yeah, listen to how Caroline and Justine sound. They sound different from each other, even though they have the same voice actor. They have the same voice. They're intonated just a little bit differently from one another, that they sound like two different characters. And that's one of the things that you should keep in mind when you're trying to do an impression of someone. Like, hey, I'm gonna try and do an impression of Caroline, and then you sound a little softer and you're like, you're just doing Justine.
I think a good example that sort of fits in a similar paradigm is, I do not know the voice actress's name, but it's the voice actress for Morgana. And, you know, she's playing a shitty, annoying cat in one game, and then in Fire Emblem Three Houses, she's playing Sophis. And what's interesting is that they are just so clearly the same voice.
Cassandra Lee Morris.
Thank you. And they're intonated differently enough that they are two distinct characters, despite clearly coming from the same person.
Also the voice for Zoe in League of Legends.
I didn't know. I thought.
Oh no, wait. It's Futaba is Zoe's voice actor.
Okay, yeah. Morgana's is Yumi.
Oh yeah, that's right. Cassandra's good at voicing annoying cats.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed that I know any League of Legends voice actors, but whatever. It's life, right?
I mean, League of Legends does tend to like get some like notable voice actors.
It does. It does. It's almost great, right? Like, it's got good art, it's got good voice acting, but it's League.
If only the community was nicer.
Yeah, so close.
Like total non sequitur. The other day I was like playing nice, like I was playing with some friends and all that, and like I start off a game with like, GLHF, hope you had a good day today. I had someone tell me to shut the fuck up in KYS. I'm like,
My gosh.
cool, normal day in League.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I hope you had a good day, and if it wasn't good, I hope it's better from here on out.
Shut the fuck up!
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
Hi, Mark.
I'll do that. Have a nice day.
Oh my god, another raid. Hi, D. Welcome on in, raiders, and thank you for the follow, Flello. But yeah, honestly, incoming otter outbreak. Dad, that's a little late.
A little bit. I've been here.
It's one thing that you should understand. Especially if you're trying to do an impression of a specific character, it's not just getting the tone right. It's not just getting the octave right. It's the intonation, it's the animation of that character. For example, Mark Hamill's Joker is a lot different from Heath Ledger's Joker. They're both Joker, but they're different Jokers. Right? You have one that's more, like, clearly methodical, unhinged, but calculated and, like, in a way that's so much different from being a showman. Like, Heath Ledger's Joker
Is a lot, he's a very
He's very fidgety, he's very methodical, he's very calculated, he's very unhinged. Whereas Mark Hamill's Joker is like the quintessential like showmanship, intelligence, strength, all that in one Joker. He's and it shows, like, if you've ever seen like behind the scenes videos of Mark Hamill doing Joker's voice, he like really gets into moving into the microphone and all that. He enjoyed that role.
Yeah, I think like it's interesting because the two examples there, one is acting and one is voice acting, but both of them involve a large amount of physical expression, because without that, Mark Hamill wouldn't be doing that voice in that way. Just like, Mark Hamill's Joker is sold not just through a voice and through the things that he says, but the staggered, bizarre movement he did walking through rooms and how it kind of always kept you on edge. Mark Hamill had to do the same thing with a level of, bombastic showmanship in how he was delivering.
Yeah,
it's acting in the same regard.
That's one thing that you should know if you're getting into voice acting. Like, not just like transitional vocal training, like not just like feminizing or masculinizing. Masculining? Whatever the word is.
Boyatizing.
Boyification!
It's not just about changing your octave. It's about the intonation. It's about understanding that you need to carry your voice different physically, not just speak it differently. Your voice is as much... Like, your voice is one of the very first things that people get an impression of you on. It helps identify, like, where you're from. It helps identify who you are. Like, it helps identify, like, how you talk normally. It's, like, one of the very first, things, right? Oh, hi, two bots. Also, how about go away. Go away, both of you.
Oh, boy, two at once.
Hey, Tristana, can you ban them as well? Instead of just deleting the message? Thank you. Wow, that's another one.
Oh boy.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, cool. Don't you love it when you get those messages?
I like it when they all come as like a party, right?
Right. Like, hey, upgrade your stream here. Like, I already do that myself.
How about you go? No. I hope you stub your toe, bot.
You're nicer to them than me.
I hope the bot steps on Lego pieces.
Actually,
oh, you're meaner than me.
I got 4 bots. Nya 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 nya. Oh my god, that one, that's evil. Hi, Hagol. Wow, another one? Oh my god, now they're whispering me. What the fuck?
Oh no.
Oh no, yeah.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I'm sorry we're getting this tonight. Let's just keep focusing.
So my question to you two is,
Shadox? Don't do that.
What's your favorite voice?
Hold on a second.
Oh yeah.
Tris, don't ban Shadox like that again. Please. I have to warn Shadox about that. Shadox likes playing pranks and like getting involved. Shadox, you fucking idiot. Shadox posted a fake link. Not.us.scam.org. Tristana
Mess around and find out.
Shadox, you fucked around and you found out. I'm sorry, Mila. Please continue.
Oh, yeah, I was just curious what I think it sounds like Tristana might be your favorite page. What about you, Dolly? What's like your favorite impression of yours to do?
That's a good question. I do think it's one of the ones I did very early on. And I just love doing Choose Goose. It's a very fun voice, and I have a good time when I get to do it.
I love it.
I really
it's
love
fun.
trying to do Tristana's voice. Like, I like getting into the mindset of, like, Vandal Gunners and, like, all that. I just... There's just something about, like, that tomboyish voice that I, like, vibe with, you know? And, I'll normally, like, sing the Vandal Gunner anthem, like, Vandal Gunners, what you say? Surge of smoke of victory. And, like, get myself into the mindset of, is that a rocket in your pocket, or you just happy to see me? No, I'm not going to do a Princess Daisy voice.
Princess Daisy. Tristana's voice always had a lot of character. I actually really like it. I don't think I could do it, but I've always liked Tristana's voice a lot.
Agreed. Actually, I have a redeem on my channel when people have 10,000 points. They can force me to try and talk like a character for 10 minutes. Last time someone redeemed it, they forced me to talk like Meatwad.
Ooh. Oh no.
I know everybody loves me, the Bible tells me so. God loves me because the Bible says so. I read it in the Bible. And I had to talk like this for 10 minutes straight. I was Meatwad of New Jersey Meatwads.
Thank you, Mila. Which reminds me,
good.
When I had my first subathon, there was going to be a Curse Karaoke stream. And Curse Karaoke is going to be me voice acting characters singing karaoke songs. And one of the top requests was for Meatwad to sing Baka Mitai and 24-Hour Cinderella.
No.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So, when I have my first subathon, we're gonna hear stuff like Meatwad sing 24-Hour Cinderella. Someone requested a Spamton. What was it? Let me go find it. Let me go find it. I can't find it right now. Oh, The Devil Went Down to Georgia, but sung by Spamton G. Spamton from Deltarune.
Oh god.
I'll do it for the bit. Commit to the bit.
It's always interesting when, like, you know, I'm sure any streamer who's done any voice acting on stream knows when you're playing a game and you have to assign a voice to a character. I'm always interested in what people do similarly and what people do differently. Because I've heard like a million interpretations of Spamton.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And it's also, it's also a matter of, like, making sure they all sound, like, especially if it's, like, multiple characters. Like, for me, when I do my visual novel Mondays, which I'm still trying to find a team to do for bigger visual novels, because I want to do, like, Riddle Joker, which is, like, a 20-hour playthrough across multiple streams, mind you, but I don't want to do all the voices in Riddle Joker myself. I would like to get a team together to read through it. You know what I mean? So I'm not putting all the strain on myself.
Visual novels are a nightmare because it is just reading. You are just reading. And
also, the problem with visual novels on Steam is a lot of them are
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
There's a reason I haven't done any.
Yeah.
They're very say-sound. Like, there's a reason they call them clickbait games instead of proper games. A lot of them truly are games.
So question to you two, as I play like these games that don't have a lot of voice acting, but I'm reading their voices out and I guess trying to find a voice for them. How do you two sort of decide what kind of voice to use for the character, and like how to differentiate between the characters?
There are a couple of, I don't want to say cheat codes, but ways to create inflection without having to drastically alter the way you sound. Because if you add just a little bit of intonation in a specific part, you can get a completely different voice without actually changing any pitch or tone. And with the slightest adjustment in how you say the words and how you enunciate with your mouth, you can drastically change how a character sounds. So
she knows the secret.
What's that?
You know the secret.
I've been doing this for a while.
This ain't my first rodeo.
Yeah, I've been around these parts before, and you gotta work on how you move your mouth in doing it, because if I say move with my normal mouth, that's one thing, but if I go move and it does a little bit of work when you do it, you get an entirely different intonation. And so it's a matter of assigning those into roles and finding what character fits what role.
For me, I always like to go with a couple of different standards that I have. And that's usually like from listening to voice actors in voices in different games. And be like, hey, I want to try and sound like this, but then there's also the games where like there's some voice acting, but not fully voice acted. So like, okay, so I have a template that I can try and work with and try and sound similar to. Or if there's no voice acting, aside from my standards, I'll ask my chat, hey, what do you want this character to sound like? They'll be like, make this character sound southern. I'm like, alright, honey, I can make her sound southern. And then it turns out she's from Kansai, and that like makes perfect fucking sense.
Good character design can tell you a lot without giving you a voice.
Yeah, that is true. Plus, if it's a game that's set in the real world, it helps out a lot more, especially like, oh, this character's from Sussex, this character's from Lancaster. Stretch for me. This character's from California, this character's from Florida. Like, okay, I can understand how they would sound. When games have a lot of characters, do y'all have problems keeping track of which voice goes to which character?
God fucking hell yes. And that's why I keep a list.
Yeah. I have a decent enough memory, but so many times have I tried to, really land a specific voice. And then I do it, and then like a week later when I play the game again, I'm like, I have no idea what they sound like. I have no idea. And, sometimes I'll go and listen to the VOD later and be like, well, I was close to what I sounded like the first time. Oh well.
Damn, Shadow, you're just making me stretch a lot. I mean, I guess if you want me to keep stretching. You just like seeing me dance on screen.
More.
If either Dollar or Mila hear my voice, it'll be like, why does your voice sound like it's having a rough time? Aw, Tristana, don't think that. Oh no, they're all trying to make me do yoga.
Oh, you don't have a cooldown for stretch. Oh, you
I use
pointed that out.
Okay, you know what? That's it. I'm gonna go put a cooldown on that now.
10 minutes.
Y'all better stop. Y'all better stop.
You want 10 minutes.
You know what? That's it. That's it. Stretch is going on cooldown.
Cooldown. There. Stretch is on cooldown. You did this! There was this one time, but before I had Hydrate on cooldown, I had someone redeem 50 Hydrates, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna commit to the bit. I drank so much water so fast I got sick. Like,
Oh no.
We're never doing that again. Never fucking again. The things I do for love.
There's a blast from the past. So, let me ask you both I'd like to ask you both a question. We've talked for a little bit tonight. We've discussed some of the tricks of the trade and all that. Would you like to try and do a scale, either going high or deep, and see if you can slope it instead of stepping?
I'm down to try.
Hell yeah, let's do it. let's get that bread, gamer.
Are you talking about like a musical scale?
A musical scale or just like numbers, just like going 10 to 1, 1 to 10, without stepping along the way. It's just a simple walk up a slope. It's not a staircase. Easier than it sounds, or harder than it sounds.
Harder.
I have to like, hang on. I have to warm up because I just streamed. I have to warm up first again. Hang on.
No, I get it. And like, for me, who's had years and years and years of experience doing this, I'm able to like jump. Like, I can jump all the way from here
All the way down here without any sort of warning. Which surprises chat sometimes, especially new people in the chat. Oh, thank you, Cheeky. It's, it can, I've had some people be very startled by this. Especially when I go even deeper, and I get as deep down to the depths of my voice as possible.
and then I just absolutely turn into a little fairy again. I heard it for the first time, but damn nice. Thank you, Nekwa. Also, it's Nekoa. I keep saying Nekwa, or I keep saying Nekwa because I'm like, I want to say quinoa.
Yeah, I was about to say Nicoa pronounced quinoa.
Dashing death with the guns. No! Not quinoa! Also, I hope I'm not talking too much. I want you both to feel welcome here and like you can talk as much as I do.
No, it's okay. I'm practicing
No,
my
thank you
scales
so
while I'm
much.
muted. You're fine.
Then again, not a
Yeah,
lot
you're
of people
fine as
talk
well.
as much as I do.
I'm a chatty Cathy.
You know what's interesting? You pointed it out. The slope, not steps, and doing it out loud. I'm like, I'm stepping.
Yeah,
So I think that's something I'd have to practice first.
it's one of the things that helped me get this mastery over my range. Because it was like, it's like my voice is used to lifting 1,000 pounds now, and I can easily go back and forth, because my vocal cords are hench as fuck. They're yoked out of their gourd.
It is an interesting way to view how a voice can be applied in that way. Because I can go high and low, but I gotta make it smoother. That's interesting. That's something for me to work on.
What characters do you guys like to do an impression of the most? Kasara asks.
Well, we've already established this one. This is an easy one. But outside of that, there's one I really like, and it's Taco from the Adventure Zone. I'm a big fan of that. And we've already established Jon Snow.
When I'm having a little off day, I like doing Link the most. You know the
Oh, perfect.
like I don't want to talk. I'm just like
Just yelling vaguely.
yeah. But when it comes to characters, I absolutely adore doing the Harley Quinn and Joker voices. I adore doing those the most. And also, if I can do a scale myself and show you like what I mean by slopes. Allow me to go from this range to high and then down to low via sloping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 6, 2, 1.
And there was no stepping along the way. And that's just what you can do when you
Aw, have fun, Dev, and thank you for the follow.
And that's exactly what you're able to do when you do when you do your warm-ups enough to the point that you've mastered them. You could just do one warm-up a day, 5 minutes of warm-ups instead of 30 minutes of warm-ups, and you BAM!
Hello, ma'am. And I was like, oh. It's working. It's okay.
Validation.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that like I absolutely helped me out, and I'm fine with my voice being androgynous. Like I'm fine with like a tomboy voice. I'm fine with like I'm fine with that range.
Mm-hmm.
Because it allows me to, shoot down or shoot high. And dear God, is it funny to mess with telemarketers with this voice.
I can only imagine.
It's like, yes, hello, we are looking for... I pick up the phone, I'm like, hello, how can I help you? It's like, we're looking for dead name here.
I'm like, you're talking to him.
They're like, oh, hello, sir. You sounded like you were a little like, what are you talking about? I just love... I love fucking with telemarketers like that.
Hi, hello, can I help you? Yes, looking for dead name? Right here.
Oh boy, am I here to fuck with you today. You're here to fuck with my time, I'm gonna fuck with yours.
Oh yeah, you got me. Hello. Good to have you here.
I'm
Thank
on the
you
phone
for
a lot
calling.
for work, and when someone says, oh, hello, man, I'm like, ooh, euphoria. Right? That is... But it shouldn't just be about... What are the things that we talked about last episode? It should not be just about getting validation from other people. It should be validating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You want
Personal
to have
happiness.
a voice that you feel comfortable with, a voice that you can hear back, and a recording be like, that's me, I sound great. It took me a while to become used to that. I listen to a lot of my VODs, and I'm like, that's me, I sound great.
External validation is dangerous because it constantly requires more, and you can only have so much of it. But when you reach a point where you yourself are content with what you hear, it doesn't matter what other people think because you're happy with it.
Let me say this, no matter how normal I try to talk with, people will always ask about my accent and say that I'm somewhere from Russia, just based on how heavy my accent is. We had an episode all about accents and dialects, and I would like to talk more about them in another episode. Oh, Shadox is asking one of his dorky questions again. To you, Doll.
Not in a while, but I do want to catch up. I'm back at in the manga Punk Hazard area, which is probably way long ago.
So what I'm referring is a little bit after that. In the Dressrosa arc, there's a character named Pika, who is a mountain of a man with the mountain fruit. Giant man. Very broad, muscly man. But his voice kind of sounds like this all the time. And it's like,
Okay. Where did that come from?
Sometimes you see people who do not have a voice that matches what they look like, and it's like,
Okay. Where, who, what?
are you the Muppet or are you the Muppeteer?
And it's interesting. There are a lot of people I meet in real life who it's like, okay, you look like this, and oh, you sound way different than I thought, huh?
Yep.
And you know, in animation, that gets exaggerated to the biggest extent. But I always found it interesting to see how that was reflected sometimes in real life.
Yep, because fiction often mimics reality, and fact is often stranger than fiction. Does anybody have any more questions? Do my guests have any questions for me?
None that come to mind.
Nah, no extra questions. Thanks for answering mine.
Absolutely, and I really hope this lesson helps people. Like, the first episode of the TranScribeCast has, like, close to 500 views now.
That's awesome.
Which is, like, thank God people are, like, finding it and spreading it around.
That's really awesome.
Which, by the way, if you haven't, you can watch all the previous episodes of the TranScribeCast on my YouTube, or you can also find any of my other VODs. What is the meaning of life? 42.
The meaning of life is to pursue happiness in a way that doesn't affect the other people negatively about you. Find what you want and go get it, and live a life that leaves you fulfilled. You don't live for other people. Live to fulfill yourself.
I'm still learning that myself.
Hard to do.
That's a great way to put it, Dolly.
Thanks.
Oh.
And also 42.
Yeah. So, have either of you ever watched... I mean, I assume you know The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I've never read it, but I know of the meaning of life meme.
So someone discovered that 42 in Unicode, like alt Unicode, translates to an asterisk. And an asterisk in terms of text is often used at the end of blocks of text to, like, say, hey, there's important add-on info here, which can be anything, or be like an addendum that says, please disregard this part of the text. It's like, it's actually very clever.
I've heard a lot of different interpretations. I've heard one about, you know, the 4 representing death and the 2 representing life, depending on, like reading within a specific language and speaking of the circular nature of life itself.
Yep.
And it's fun how many interpretations there are, and it could have just been nothing at all, and all of these are unintentional.
Yep, it could be one of those things. I'm not... Shadox? No. Shh. Shut up, Shadox. Yeah, Jade, this is the Honey snippet. Look at her. Look at her go. She even has little freckles on her lip, just like Honey did.
Cute.
She's perfect.
Yeah,
Look at her
so
doing little
cute.
snippy steps. She's skitter step. Skitter. Tristana's question. When you lose your voice due to sickness, how does that affect you in terms of streaming and voice changes?
Usually when I'm sick, I don't stream.
I actually just got over COVID, like 3 weeks ago, and I obviously didn't stream when I was feeling sick, but there was a long period of time that I felt not great afterwards that I streamed anyways, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna play something that I don't have to voice act in at all.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, there are some games that are okay to do it in, but then there are others where it's like, this is impossible. I'm not gonna do this.
And
Sort of an
speaking
all or nothing.
Speaking of games, with voice acting, do you two tend one way to play one type of game over the other? Like more voice acted games versus non?
started to look for games that have more. Like right now I'm playing a game with maybe the most spot-on, incredible name I've ever heard. It's Super Lesbian Animal RPG. And it is some of the most fun I've had voice acting any game ever. Because the characters are very, very cartoony, and the moments and interactions that happen are just full of all of this character that you get to translate. And so I try to, if I'm focusing on voice acting in particular, I try to look for games that have that type of character instead of feeling bland, you know?
Yeah. I myself enjoy playing a lot of deck builders, dungeon crawlers, JRPGs, visual novels. But I usually limit the visual novels to Mondays only.
They get overwhelming otherwise.
Dear God, yes.
Yeah.
Imagine doing 10 different character voices, and you have to remember all the little nuances of each and every friggin' one for 2.5 to 4 hours every Monday.
That's a lot.
There's
Isn't
a
Monster
reason I
Prom
haven't
also
finished
Yes.
some of the games I've played.
Whenever I have collabs in Monster Prom, we always do voices.
And that's where I get to do my Surfer Bro narrator voice. Because
Oh
we
my
were
god,
young,
I fucking love that voice.
we were young and unafraid, and it was Monster Prom all over again. Some might even say Monster Prom 2. Camp Spooky.
That's awesome.
And whenever I do a Monster Prom collab, that's always my narrator voice.
Just go, dude, Surfer Bro.
Okay, this may sound very nerdy, but sometimes I would just grab my Yu-Gi-Oh deck and try to announce my plays like they do in the anime. We all like doing that sometimes.
That's one thing about voice acting that I think a lot of people are like, I think people being nervous can limit them from what they want to do with voice acting, be it just like in a stream or in D&D or anything like that. Because there's this feeling of like, I really don't want to fuck it up. And when you're just willing to commit to the bit and give it your best, even if you're far away from it, you might be close. And the confidence is what's going to get people to believe it.
That's a great point. I think confidence is a big thing. Like,
Yeah, you gotta walk around with a natural 30 charisma score.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, going back to my story about before, how whenever I did do some form of role playing or D&D and type of stuff, and kind of not confident about doing any sort of voice acting role play, stems from that, I think, lack of confidence. That feels like if I had it when I was playing back then, it would have made a world of difference.
The problem with confidence is that you have to practice it to build it up, and you have to be confident to practice. It's like a vicious cycle of not being able to start. And there comes, at least for me, there came a point where I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go. And it got easier the more that I did it. You know what I mean?
Thank you,
Yeah,
Goldie.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
You have to start
agree.
somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere.
We've almost hit the 90-minute mark. I think this is a good, wrapping up point. Thank you both for being here.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much.
Also,
Even
in
though-
regards to D&D and TTRPGs, the lovely Dolly here is going to be joining me on a production of a show I'm trying to put together.
Hi, that's me.
We're still trying to work things out, but, while Wizards of the Coast is having its little conniption fit meltdown, we're setting up a Fabula Ultima game show. And honestly, tonight, I absolutely adored having you both here and like the vibes we shared. So thank you very much. I would love to have you like just hang out and play games again, or like on stream, off stream. You guys are both awesome.
I learned a lot today. Thank you two so much.
I'm glad I could help you.
It was a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It was like it's always nice to have new guests on. To next episode's guests, I still need to work on. I would love to have Grandpa on as a guest for one episode at least. You know, Grandpa VT?
I live under a rock. I don't know people.
Oh, he has a huge LGBT advocate and all that. He's awesome.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Mila, thank you for being here. Thank you for agreeing to be here. I'm happy you learned a little bit tonight, and thank you for providing some input yourself.
Thank you very much, Paige. Thank you, Dolly.
And holla holla get ada. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I had a really wonderful time.
I just love saying it like that. Instead of like holla holla get dala, holla holla get ada.
I love how many times people have just like spun otter into a million different things like that. It happens all the time.
Oh, why I oughta.
But
it happens automatically.
Everyone, please stay around, because after the podcast, we're gonna have a 5-minute break, so everyone can get up, do their stretches, fill their waters, and all that, and then we're gonna play some Persona 5. So if you'd like to stay around, please stick around. I would love to have you for Persona 5. We're trying to do some more confident maxing. Also, let me end the recording now. YouTube, thank you for being here tonight, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye, YouTube!